Welcome to the Business Growth Spotlight, where we shine the light and talk with business leaders from all over the world who share their insights and expertise so we can all grow together. And I'm excited to be chatting with my guest today. We're going to be talking about AI technology, something really exciting because it's growing and evolving every single day. If you're new to our podcast, welcome. We're happy to have you here. I'm your host, Heidi Schalk, co-founder of HLH Growth Solutions, where we help businesses scale their revenue by utilizing outside of the box visibility strategies. So make sure you stick around to the end because we have a little gift for you for being here with Trevor and I today. Without further ado, let me introduce my guest today, Trevor Greenway with interVal. Welcome, Trevor, to the podcast.
Thanks so much for having me.
I'm really excited to talk about this today and learn more about your company. I've been doing a little research and I'm very, very intrigued. So can you tell us, Trevor, a little bit about yourself, your company, interVal, and the role that you play within it?
Yeah, so I'm the co-founder and CEO of interVal. interVal's been in business in the software industry for about 4 years now. Admittedly, we got into software by pure accident. My background is actually in mergers and acquisitions. So myself and my co-founder, we actually had founded an M&A firm 12 years ago, and we kind of built it on the premise that we believed that business owners shouldn't be left to their own devices. It shouldn't be age and being tired that should be the trigger for them ultimately to leave. Getting ready to leave their business. And so we wanted to really help them understand what their data was telling them in a proactive manner so they could be strategic about when they were looking to leave. So we were like an M&A firm, but we actually wanted to work with them years ahead of their M&A. And that we actually went national very quickly in Canada with that pretty simple kind of value prop, because we believe that these business owners that are typically valued between kind of 1 and 20 million are often left to their own devices. They're not big enough for these large corporate finance teams to work with, and we believe that they needed help. And it was in that business that we actually came across the same problem over and over again, that business owners were often getting to the end of their journey looking to create a liquidity event, only to find out that their business wasn't worth what they thought it was. And at that point, it was too late. And so that problem kept arising. And we said, well, maybe there's a better way for us to do this. Maybe we can democratize access to business health so that every business owner knows always how they're driving value and, more importantly, what they can do about it, and how that might ultimately augment their relationship between them and their advisors. And so it was a lived experience for 12 years that we said, there's a problem here that we can solve. We can actually empower their advisors, their financial advisors, whether that be wealth managers, accountants, bankers, everyone that orbits a business owner. They can be a more active participant in creating a great financial outcome for their businesses. But the only way you can do that is with scale, and scale can only be achieved through technology. So it was, admittedly, we're kind of business people first, coming from the finance industry, and then technologists second. And I think that ultimately has become kind of our superpower as we've built out interVal.
Thank you for sharing that background, because I find it intriguing, because I was just talking with somebody the other day about pivoting and evolving. And when I was in the coaching space, I would always tell my clients, don't be surprised. Don't get so fixated on having to get it all right and perfect, because where you are now, in 5 years, it could look completely different depending on how you're growing and evolving, and also your clients and customers are growing and evolving, and how the world is. And you are sitting here right now as proof of that. You started in one space, you're still helping that space, but in a different way than you did originally. And I know for many people that can be really scary. So I'm glad that you're here as an inspiration for our listeners, for anybody that are thinking, you need to have it all figured out perfectly. Let yourself grow and just enjoy the process of where this could turn into. And when you find a problem, figure out how to solve it, especially if multiple people have that problem. Can you share where the name interVal came from? And because you shared with me behind the scenes, I thought it was really interesting.
Yeah, so our whole goal at interVal is to create interactions that are valuable, hence the name, between advisors and their business owners. Because right now there's a big problem where financial advisors and the financial services industry at large is facing a massive labor crunch. There was a study done that says that they're actually going to miss out on $420 billion in revenue over the next 10 years due to a labor shortage.
Wow.
Because there's never been more business owners for them to service, and there's never been fewer people entering the industry. And you've got these boomers that are now retiring from these industries, leaving this massive gap at a time where these business owners need more help in financial planning, financial services, accounting, banking. So this is ultimately the problem we solve, is how do we allow these fewer people to scale, to fill that vacuum of, helping these business owners prepare for and ultimately execute on what is the largest transfer of wealth in human history. And so these interactions that are valuable are critical. We have to automate the discovery of those needs and then ultimately empower them to go into these meetings with products that they know will help, solutions that they know will ultimately protect and grow their business owner customers because they have a vested interest in their future success.
Mm. So interVal leverages real-time data to deliver actionable insights. So how are you using AI to transform the way businesses are making decisions?
So we use AI in two different formats. One is in terms of data ingestion. So we actually ingest year-end financial statements. So something that every business owner produces, they have to every year as a compliance exercise. But inside of that data is some really, really valuable information. It's not just a compliance exercise to figure out your tax burden. That if it was just that would really, that would be disturbing. There's more that can be done with that. And so what our AI does is it actually recategorizes that information to ingest it at scale so that we can produce actionable and meaningful things back to the business owner. So one thing that we do is we actually benchmark them across 25 different categories against their own industry, telling them how they're performing relative to their peers. We automate business valuation. I don't believe that a business valuation is an event. It's just the manifestation of the data you've always been producing. It's just always been really expensive to get a report. We don't believe in that. We believe that everyone should always know what they're worth, because if you don't know that, how can you make decisions about improving it? And so we use the AI to ingest that data and then ultimately produce these outputs and then give them some feedback on how they're performing relative to their peers and what's driving that, so they can start to make healthier business decisions that ultimately create a better financial outcome for them.
Hmm. How are you balancing automation and AI with the need for the human touch in financial advising and strategic planning?
So we actually, like, our customers, the people that pay us are the institutions. So we like, if they give our product away to every single one of their business owners for free. They want their business owners to always be aware of this because it helps them build better businesses. But then the advisors themselves, what we do is we supercharge them. We want them to be the human in the loop. So our job as interVal is to produce, yes, meaningful insights back to the business owner, but we're also producing meaningful insights directly to the advisor. We tell the advisor, hey, there's a business here that is sitting on far too much cash relative to the industry need. You should be talking to them about tax efficient ways to extract this cash and put it to work differently. Or this business might qualify for a loan and didn't even ask for it, but their data was telling us this. This is the conversation you can be having. So from an automation and AI standpoint, we actually produce meeting agendas for them. We'll say, this is exactly what you should be talking to your customer about. Here's the problem, here's the product, here's the solution, and here's the risk profile of this business. So again, trying to create capacity for these people. Here are the types of conversations you should be having. Here are your top customers. This is how you can deliver value to them. So our job is actually to supercharge those interactions. Our job is not to be the advisor. We're using technology to allow those humans to actually be more human.
Love it. I love it. So what are some of the most surprising things that business owners learn when they start tracking their valuation over time?
What's been really interesting is over the course of a few years, one of the things that we've been tracking is actually growth. And it's like stepping on the scale. Like, sometimes I don't like the number, but it often drives better behaviors. Like I tend to, I'll go for a run when I don't like the number. And so part of this is really just creating this feedback loop where business owners are also limited in terms of time and capacity, right? They're more focused on running their business, growing, meeting payroll, their obligations. To really take a step back and look at the business objectively is, one, challenging, and two, it requires time. And so what we've noticed is that business owners that have now been on the interVal platform over multiple years, they actually grow on average 29% year over year in terms of their enterprise value.
Wow.
And it's not because we're doing anything really that special in terms of guiding them. Their advisor's job is to do that. But what we're doing is we're giving them feedback and saying, hey, here's what's driving your value. Here's where you're strong and where you're weak. And these are the areas you may want to focus on. And these are the types of things that you can do. And that alone is valuable because it zeroes in their focus. They say, I only have a limited amount of time, but if you're telling me where I'm out, I'm out of whack with my industry benchmarks, that number is going to roll into my valuation. Right? The valuation is like a vanity number, and it's like a broken clock, except it's never right a second time, right? It's only right in the moment, but the individual kind of underlying metrics, those feed that number. And if you can make small changes to those underlying metrics, it will feed the valuation, and we've been able to prove that.
Amazing. So this is so interesting to me. What trends are you seeing in these spaces, and how is interval helping businesses stay ahead?
Really what we're seeing is we're seeing a lot of people begin to consider the future liquidity of their business, right? And there's talk of there's studies around the number of trillions of dollars that are expected to change hands over the next 10 to 15 years. What we're seeing is we're starting to see changes in behavior where business owners are not waiting until the end. They're saying, I want to know early because I can build a better business and I'm better for that. My cash flow is better for that. And I'm driving value. And they're starting to expect more of their advisors as a result. And there's, the advisor relationships have always been funny with their business owners, especially in the wealth industry, where in wealth, they tend to fight over the high net worth because they're liquid today and they can make money immediately. But this business owner kind of group is the future high net worth, and no one knows who they are because no one knows which ones are actually going to be worth a lot. And no one knows who's actually going to create a liquidity event and when. And so one of the trends we're seeing is that business owners are looking to their wealth advisor and saying, I shouldn't only be important to you when I have millions of dollars because I have an asset that is going to be worth millions of dollars and I'm going to create a liquidity event. How are you going to help me today?
Yeah.
And how can you help me prepare for that eventuality? And if you do right by me, when I get that millions of dollars, I'm going to place it with you. And so it's kind of flipping the narrative where the business owners are saying, I know that I'm going to be important one day. So how are you going to prove it to me now?
Hmm, got it. I'd like to, Trevor, if it's okay with you, switch gears a little bit and talk about growth because you've been in business, you've done, you've ran multiple businesses to where you get to where you are now. Can you share some of the challenges that you've seen over your growth and how have you overcome them?
Yeah, there's always been challenges. Like you feel like you're taking two steps forward, one step back, pretty often. One thing that I think I learned, especially like I came from finance originally, we sold our M&A business, so I learned a lot about that. But getting into technology was a bit of an eye opener, right? It's a different animal. But at the end of the day, I think sometimes technology gets overly complicated in terms of like what it actually needs to do. And I believe technology is a medium to solve a business problem. And if you're not solving a business problem, you can build the greatest technology in the world, but it doesn't matter. Right. And so I think sometimes we overcomplicate like what technology needs to be. It has to solve a business problem. It needs to do something meaningful for a variety of different people and create value. And so we've kind of remained focused on that. I think one of the challenges I kind of fought early on, and probably not coming from the tech industry, was there's so much information out there, right? There's books, there's, podcasts, you can learn everything. And sometimes it's too much to the point where you don't know where to you don't know where to go, you don't know where to listen to. And I think at the end of the day, like you got to acknowledge that like you can do hard things and there are going to be things out there that are wrong and that may have worked in a certain instance but don't apply to you. I do find it funny that in an industry where the failure rate is so high, like I heard a stat that said that tech startups, only 4% of them reach $1 million in annual recurring revenue. 4%. And
Wow.
yet we all copy each other. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And so I've tried to like kind of remain open and say, well, at its core, business principles remain the same, whether you're using technology or not. And so I think building that way and, not getting too high or too low and ascribing to any one of these, I call them kind of like religions where people say like, oh, this is how you have to build a tech startup. It's like, well, why? Right? I'm sure you can take elements from each of them and say, well, why does this apply to my specific situation? And I found that really challenging at onset because you get so much information and so many people talking at you about how it needs to be done. And no two situations are identical. And I think you just have to be confident in that. And I found that challenging at onset. And I'm sure a lot of founders do.
Yeah, absolutely. I have a question for you. You were in this space and you saw a gap, you saw a problem, and you and your business partner went to solve that problem. So I'm sure you had relationships, but outside of relationships, and maybe that's a big piece of where you're getting in front of your clients, but marketing wise, visibility wise, what are the things that you've done and are doing, or maybe something that you like out that you've been like, oh my gosh, this works so much, we keep doing and focusing on this way to get in front of more of your ideal client, your ideal prospect?
I think what we found is, especially like we're not venture backed, and like we might be at one point. Like we bootstrapped this to a pretty sizable number. Like we just tripled in revenue this past year. So I'm proud of what we've done. But it's not like we're operating with massive budgets, right? We've got some private high net worth investors that believed in us and took a swing, and I'm proud of that, and I'm proud of how we've done it. But we had to operate we had to be pretty kind of roll up our sleeves and be tough and gritty. And what we did is we said at the end of the day, if you solve meaningful business problems for like real customers and you can prove it, that then becomes your biggest lever, right? That becomes something you can pull on. Our customers refer us into other customers. We ask them for it. We have a referral program internally, and we say, if we're adding value and creating value for you, we're going to change this ecosystem, and we're going to either do it on our own, or our customers are going to say, hey, I know so and so at such a company. I don't view them to be competitive. We'd be happy to introduce you. And so that, I think, getting out there as thought leaders, one of our biggest superpowers is we have multiple CPAs on our product team, right? So it's like we are domain experts first, technologists second, and that has some credibility. We sell into large accounting firms, like national firms that you would recognize are our customers, but they won't buy if they think that you're just a bunch of engineers holed up in your parents' basement, right? Is you have to do you live the problem? Have you lived the problem? Do you understand their existing workflows? And how are you going to make them more efficient and better and make them more money? And so I think if you do that from a credibility perspective, that's where we've spent a lot of our time and energy, is being thought leaders in an industry that sometimes struggles to be sold to. I read that the accounting industry is the second most sold to industry in the world after doctors. And so because of them, like, they get inundated all the time with inbounds and cold calls and things like this. And so it's like, how are you going to stand out? And you have to stand out by being thought leaders and being truly understanding of their world, and say, okay, I get you. I get that you get me. And now I'm willing to have a conversation about the problems that you can solve because I believe that you understand them intimately.
So what's next for interVal, Trevor? What are your goals for over the next year or so?
Right now we're in growth mode. Admittedly, we're not considered a leper anymore in terms of our growth. Like, we just got a term sheet from a bank for some like traditional debt to continue to grow, which a lot of startups can't get to. So like, we're proud of that. We're in growth mode again. Like, I do believe we'll probably triple again this coming year, which is pretty exciting. We're well on our way to that. And now it's about replication. Right. And so we're international. Like, we started in Canada. We've got a number of reputable and notable national firms that are our customers, and we've expanded into the US. We've got a number of US customers as well. Our US pipeline is growing healthily. So right now we are in growth mode. We're doing some really interesting and innovative things with the technology. I think AI has made our world a heck of a lot easier, where we're able to actually automate more things for our advisors and basically do more of their workflow for them. I love that. I know I already said it, but the whole concept of using technology to make humans more human, we're not replacing anyone. We're actually supercharging them and augmenting them. And I think our team kind of feels good about that, is that we can help the evolution of an industry or a series of industries in financial services. And so, as you can tell, my passion is my largest curse, and it's something I'm really passionate about and where we're going. So yeah, growth mode and doing some pretty fun things on the technology side that we're excited to roll out this year.
Yeah, it sounds very exciting. So if Trevor, if we could bring you back in a year and just see, go back through this discussion and what your goals are, what would success look like for you in the next 12 months?
It's funny, like, obviously, growth is important. But for us, a lot of it is expanding our existing customer base. And I don't just mean by net new revenue. I mean like our existing contracts, right? And so what we've done a lot of is we have a lot of 3-year contracts with our large customers, and it scales with them. So there's built-in escalators in those. And I think continuing to prove the value that we're creating, I believe very much, and I just wrote a blog about this not long ago, that I believe SaaS pricing is dead, and that value-based, ROI-based pricing is the future. Is that you have to be able to prove value. You can't create these tiers of impediments that people don't want to use it more because they're going to get charged more. If you've got a technology that truly solves for scale, you shouldn't be afraid to have people use it, because you want them to use it because it truly creates exponential value. And so for me, that's kind of what we're tracking. And so yes, the top line growth is valuable. Yeah, I want to triple, obviously. But for me, it's, can we continue to prove out that the ROI that we're creating is exponentially larger than their spend? And so far we have been, and the more data we add to that, that's something that I think you can be proud of and can leverage and scale as we continue to grow in future years.
So good. So Trevor, for my listeners, our listeners who are like, oh, I want to learn more, I want to connect with you. How can they connect with you, and how can they learn more about interVal?
You can learn more about interVal directly on our website, inter-val.ai. You can reach me on LinkedIn, Trevor Greenway, interVal. You'll find me in no time. You can also email me, tgreenway@inter-val.ai. There's lots of ways to get a hold of us. We've got a small but mighty team, and we'd be happy to interact and just help people learn more because, as you said, like it's pretty interesting. It's a fun space. We don't have a whole lot in the way of competition in the space right now. And so we get to do some pretty innovative things with some pretty valuable and large companies. But ultimately, at the end of the day, what I get to feel good about is we get to help them. We get to help the evolution of financial services, but really we get to help the small business owners. So we get to kind of do it twice. Right? We get to win twice. We get to help the large institutions, but in turn help the SMBs. So some people say, "Hey, you're kind of like Robin Hood," but at the end of the day, we get to feel good about that because they are the backbone of the North American economy.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, if you're listening, we have all of Trevor's links in order to contact him, reach out to him in the show notes, as well as his bio if you want to learn more. Highly suggest you go check out the website, inter-val.ai. I was on there. It's awesome. You can actually see his team. They definitely share everybody on the team, which is really cool and nice. I love when companies do that because it feels like, it's more of an open door. You kind of feel like you're connecting with them on a different level. So definitely go check it out, inter-val.ai. Reach out to Trevor on social media. And again, we're going to have him, all of his links, accessible to you in the show notes. Trevor, is there anything else you'd like to share before we wrap that I didn't get to ask you or we didn't touch on?
No, I think we had a great discussion. I think our energy levels probably meet at a similar level, which is fun. It always makes for a fun conversation. I'm just happy to share the journey. And being a founder and building a company can be lonely sometimes. And so I've surrounded myself with people that have been through it and have done things in certain ways, and just trying to be a voracious learner. And if I can share some insight to some founder out there somewhere, then I think that that's valuable because it can be a pretty lonely journey sometimes.
Yeah, that's very true. So that's a gold nugget for all of you listening, because this big takeaway right there amongst everything else Trevor shared. And Trevor, yeah, I love your passion. It oozes from you. You can feel it through the screen as we're talking here. So if you're watching us on YouTube, you can definitely feel and see Trevor's passion. Please hit the subscribe button so you are notified when I have more amazing guests like Trevor on this show, on this podcast. And please share interVal with anyone that you know that might be interested in learning more or could use their services, and also connect with Trevor. If you're listening to us on your favorite podcast platform, and you can hit the review button, and it gives you the 5-star option. Please hit 5 stars. This is our way for us to share Trevor and interVal and more of our guests with more people in the world, so we can help other businesses grow. My goal is for more businesses to succeeding. As Trevor shared with you, 4% of tech companies don't reach $1 million, which is crazy to me. We need more companies succeeding and more people growing and being successful in what they want to achieve. And we do that with your help. So I promised you a gift. So as a listener, whether you're new to the podcast or you've been here and you just haven't grabbed it yet, we have a free Spotlight to Scale blueprint for you. As I shared, we are a strategic visibility partner. If you are trying to grow your visibility, get more eyes on your product, on your business, and you're just kind of like spinning your wheels, then go ahead and download our Spotlight to Scale blueprint. You can grab that at spotlighttoscale.com/blueprint. It's free. It's for you. Trevor, thank you again so much for being here and sharing your time. I know you're busy. You guys have had 3 times, you're growing exponentially, and I'm really excited to be connected with you and continuing watching your growth over the next years to come.
Really appreciate you having me. Thanks so much.
You're welcome. Thank you for listening to Trevor and I. Don't forget to go to inter-val.ai and go connect with Trevor and his team. We will see you on the next episode of the Business Growth Spotlight.